Have you ever noticed how a woman sometimes becomes distant right when you think things are going well? She might stop texting as much, act colder, or even say she needs space. And yet, her actions don't fully match her words. Here's a thought. Could it be that she actually wants you the most in those moments, but doesn't know how to show it? Drop your answer in the comments, because this is one of the most confusing dynamics men face in female psychology. The truth is, women often push away the very men they feel most drawn to. Not because they don't care, but because vulnerability feels dangerous. Desire creates fear, the fear of rejection, of losing control, or of being hurt. So instead of leaning in, she steps back. To the untrained eye, this looks like disinterest, but psychology shows it's often the opposite. In this video, we're going to break down exactly why women act this way, what it reveals about their mindset, and how you should respond when it happens. By the end, you'll see that these moments aren't rejection. They're hidden tests of your strength, patience, and confidence. And if you stick with me until the end, write Science Sight in the comments. That way I'll know you're one of the men willing to see beyond words and into the deeper truths of female psychology. One of the paradoxes of female psychology is that a woman often pushes away the very man she desires most. At first glance, this makes no sense. Why would she distance herself if she wants you? The answer lies in vulnerability. Desire exposes her. It makes her feel open, uncertain, and at risk of rejection. And for many women, that risk feels more frightening than loneliness itself. Psychologists explain that attraction often activates defense mechanisms. When a woman feels strongly for someone, her brain associates that closeness with potential pain, fear of abandonment, betrayal, or disappointment. To protect herself, she may instinctively pull back. It's not that she doesn't want you. It's that wanting you makes her feel exposed, and exposure feels dangerous. Consider a real-life example. A woman meets a man who excites her, challenges her, and makes her feel alive. Instead of leaning fully into the connection, she suddenly grows distant, claiming she's too busy or not ready for anything serious. Yet, when he steps back, she misses him intensely. This contradiction confuses men, but it's really her fear of vulnerability playing out. Machiavelli once observed that people fear losing what they value most, and that fear shapes their behavior more than reason. In relationships, this applies directly. The more a woman values you, the more she fears losing you. And paradoxically, the more she may push you away to shield herself from possible pain. From a psychological perspective, this is also linked to attachment styles. Women with anxious or avoidant tendencies often struggle to balance desire and fear. They crave closeness but feel overwhelmed by the risks that come with it. Distance becomes their way of managing the intensity of their emotions, even if it sabotages what they truly want. The mistake most men make is taking her withdrawal as proof of rejection. In reality, it's often a silent invitation to prove stability. If you panic, chase harder, or show insecurity, you validate her fear that closeness is dangerous. If you stay calm, grounded, and consistent, you show her that vulnerability with you is safe. So here's the reflection. When a woman pulls back, do you respond with fear? Or do you stand steady and give her the security she secretly craves? Share your thoughts in the comments, because learning to see past her fear is the first step to truly understanding her. Few things confuse men more than the push and pull dynamic women display. One moment, she's deeply engaged, texting often, laughing at your jokes, leaning into your presence. The next, she seems distant, detached, or even cold. Many men interpret this as dishonesty, but psychology shows us it's not usually about lying. It's about the internal conflict between desire and fear. Psychologists describe this as ambivalent behavior. When a woman feels drawn toward you, her emotions surge forward, but almost immediately her defenses kick in to protect her from potential hurt. This creates the cycle. She pulls you closer because she wants you, then pushes you away because she fears losing control. The mixed signals aren't random. They're the visible signs of her inner tug-of-war. Consider a real-life example. A man goes on several dates with a woman who shows obvious interest, flirting, making future plans, and texting him constantly. But as soon as things start to feel serious, she suddenly becomes unavailable, cancels plans, or says she needs time to think. From his perspective, this feels manipulative, but from hers, it's a subconscious balancing act. She wants the closeness but fears becoming too invested. Machiavelli noted that power often comes from creating uncertainty. While he referred to politics, the same principle explains why mixed signals feel so powerful in relationships. Uncertainty keeps men hooked, trying to solve the puzzle. But unlike a ruler's strategy, most women don't do this intentionally. It's simply how their emotions manifest when vulnerability collides with fear. From a psychological standpoint, push and pull behavior also tests your consistency. If you react with anger or insecurity when she pulls away, you confirm her fears. If you remain calm and patient, you show her that the connection doesn't need to be a constant battle. This steadiness is what allows her to eventually lower her defenses. It's important to recognize the difference between temporary mixed signals and chronic emotional games. A woman navigating her own fears may waver in the early stages, but if push and pull becomes her entire pattern, it may signal deeper issues. In that case, walking away may be healthier than staying caught in endless confusion. So here's the reflection. When you face mixed signals, do you get lost in the game, or do you step back and see the deeper psychology behind it? Share your perspective in the comments, because mastering this lesson is the difference between frustration and clarity in relationships. Attraction is supposed to bring people closer, but for many women, intimacy also awakens fear. When she starts to feel deeply connected, her defenses may rise automatically. Instead of leaning into the relationship, she pulls away, puts up walls, or acts colder. This doesn't mean she's lost interest. It often means the closeness has triggered her survival instincts. Psychologists explain this through defense mechanisms. When someone feels emotionally exposed, their brain activates protective behaviors to avoid pain. For women, this might look like sudden slants, irritability, or distancing, even if they genuinely care. The paradox is that the stronger her feelings, the stronger her defenses may become. This is especially true if she's been hurt before. Take a real-life example. A man begins dating a woman who shows clear signs of attraction. They laugh together, share secrets, and grow closer. Just as the bond deepens, she suddenly withdraws, claiming she's not ready for a relationship. In reality, she is ready, but her fear of being vulnerable triggers defenses that push him away. To him, it feels like rejection. To her, it feels like safety. Machiavelli once observed that people fortify their cities not because they hate outsiders, but because they fear losing what's inside. In relationships, women build emotional fortresses for the same reason. Not to reject love, but to protect their hearts. The walls are not against you, they are against the possibility of pain. From a psychological perspective, women with avoidant or anxious attachment styles are especially prone to these reactions. For them, closeness feels like both a blessing and a threat. They crave it but also fear it. This push and pull isn't manipulation. It's the clash between longing and self-protection. The mistake most men make is responding with pressure or frustration. Pushing harder against her walls only makes them stronger. The right response is steadiness, giving her space without resentment, showing consistency without neediness. Over time, this demonstrates that intimacy with you does not equal danger. So here's the reflection. When her defenses rise, do you fight them with pressure or lower them with patience? Share your thoughts in the comments, because learning this balance could be the key to breaking through walls she never intended to build. One of the most confusing behaviors for men is when a woman becomes distant immediately after a moment of closeness or intimacy. You share a deep conversation, an affectionate moment, or even physical connection. Yet instead of drawing nearer, she seems to pull away. This can leave a man questioning whether the moment was real at all. But psychology shows us this distancing often has little to do with rejection and more to do with how women process vulnerability. Psychologists call this the vulnerability hangover. When someone opens themselves emotionally or physically, they often feel exposed afterward. For many women, intimacy brings a rush of connection, but once the moment passes, fear sets in. Did I give too much? Does he feel the same? What if he leaves now that I've shown him my heart? To regain control, she creates distance, even if it contradicts her true feelings. Consider a real-life example. A couple shares an intense evening together, filled with laughter and affection. The next day, she seems colder, avoids texting first, or claims she's busy. He interprets this as regret, but in truth, it's her mind protecting her from the vulnerability she felt. The intimacy was real. Her withdrawal is simply the shield that follows it. Machiavelli observed that people often retreat after exposing weakness, not because they regret showing it, but because they fear being exploited. In relationships, women may pull away after closeness for the same reason: to protect themselves from the possibility of being hurt now that they've revealed their softer side. From a psychological standpoint, this reaction is especially common in those with avoidant attachment patterns. They long for intimacy, but once they have it, the emotional weight feels overwhelming. Creating distance is their way of restoring balance, even though it often confuses their partner. The mistake men make here is assuming the distance means regret or disinterest. In reality, responding with panic or accusations only deepens her withdrawal. The correct response is calm consistency, showing her through your steadiness that closeness doesn't have to mean danger. Over time, this allows her to feel safe, staying open instead of retreating. So here's the reflection. When she grows distant after intimacy, do you assume the worst, or do you remain steady enough to show her that closeness is safe? Share your perspective in the comments, because this insight could change the way you see vulnerability in women forever. When a woman pushes you away, gives mixed signals, or acts distant, it often feels unfair. But from the lens of female psychology, these moments are not always signs of rejection. They're emotional tests. She wants to see if you're stable, if your words align with your actions, and if you can remain grounded under pressure. These tests are rarely conscious strategies, but they reveal what kind of man you truly are. Psychologists explain that women often test not to manipulate, but to seek security. Deep attraction makes her feel vulnerable, and vulnerability needs reassurance. By observing how you react to her doubts, mood swings, or silence, she learns whether you're dependable or fragile. If you stay calm, patient, and consistent, she feels safe. If you get defensive, needy, or angry, her fear of closeness grows stronger. Consider a real-life scenario. A woman suddenly says, "I don't think you really care about me." A defensive man replies with, "How can you say that? Look at everything I do for you!" Turning the moment into a conflict. A grounded man, however, responds calmly, "I do care, but I see you need reassurance. Let's talk about it." The same situation, two different reactions. One fuels her insecurity, the other eases it. Machiavelli wrote that rulers test their allies not with kindness but with pressure, because true loyalty is revealed under strain. In relationships, the same principle applies. A woman doesn't discover your strength when everything is easy. She sees it when you face tension and still hold your frame. These are the moments where attraction either deepens or disappears. From a psychological perspective, emotional tests also highlight congruence. If you talk about confidence but collapse when she withdraws, your words lose power. If you show consistency despite challenges, your actions reinforce trust. Women may not articulate it this way, but they feel it instinctively. The mistake many men make is resenting the tests instead of recognizing their purpose. These moments are not traps, they are opportunities. Passing them builds trust. Failing them confirms her fears. When you learn to view her emotional shifts as chances to demonstrate strength, the confusion fades and the relationship deepens. So here's the reflection. Do you see her emotional tests as manipulations or as opportunities to prove your steadiness? Share your answer in the comments, because how you handle these moments will define whether she pulls closer or pushes you away for good. When a woman pushes you away right as she wants you most, it's easy to get caught in confusion. Many men either chase harder trying to fix the situation, or they walk away too quickly assuming rejection. But the truth is, these are the very moments that define whether attraction deepens or dies. The key isn't to panic, it's to respond with clarity and composure. Psychologists emphasize that in moments of mixed signals, your response must be grounded, not reactive. If she withdraws, don't demand constant reassurance or pressure her for answers. Instead, give her space while maintaining consistency. This shows her that you're secure enough not to collapse under emotional turbulence. A steady presence, rather than desperate pursuit, builds trust. Consider a real-life example. A woman texts less frequently after weeks of closeness. One man reacts with frustration. "Why are you ignoring me? Did I do something wrong?" which only pushes her further away. Another simply stays calm, keeps busy with his own life, and responds warmly when she does reach out. The second man communicates strength through patience, and eventually she returns with more certainty. Machiavelli observed that clarity of action creates loyalty, while confusion breeds rebellion. Applied here, the man who remains clear in his behavior, even when her signals are mixed, becomes the stable force she can rely on. The one who mirrors her inconsistency only amplifies chaos. From a psychological perspective, responding the right way also means understanding the difference between temporary withdrawal and long-term disinterest. If her distance is tied to fear, patience works. But if her actions consistently show disrespect or lack of care, clarity means walking away. Emotional intelligence isn't just about staying steady. It's about knowing when steadiness turns into self-neglect. The secret then is to frame her push and pull not as a trap, but as a test of your own composure. When you stop chasing explanations and start embodying clarity, you transform confusion into attraction. She learns that your presence is safe, reliable, and free of unnecessary drama. So here's the reflection. When faced with her mixed signals, are you reacting in desperation or responding with clarity that commands respect? Share your thoughts in the comments, because how you handle these moments could determine whether she sees you as another source of chaos or as the calm she secretly craves. When a woman pushes you away just as she wants you most, it's not rejection. It's fear, vulnerability, and testing all rolled into one. What seems confusing on the surface often makes perfect sense when you understand the psychology behind it. Women crave connection, but closeness also awakens their deepest insecurities. That's why your steadiness matters more than your words. The real secret isn't to chase or to retreat. It's to hold your ground with calm clarity. When you respond with patience, composure, and consistency, you prove you're the man she can trust, not just the one she desires, and that trust is what keeps her coming back long after the mixed signals fade. If you made it this far, let me know in the comments. And to prove you stayed until the end, write Psi Insight, so I know you're one of the men willing to see beyond the surface and into the deeper truths of female psychology.